Well, hello, and welcome to another episode of Tell Great Stories, the podcast that looks back at some of the Unbound Theatre's past projects and productions. Today we're discussing another special community project called Tudor Tales, which was performed at Aylesbury Town Counters Tudor Fair event in September 2019. My name's Andrew Faber, and I played the bard in the show, not that bard. And joining me today are some of the cast and crew of the show. So, chaps, I'd like you to introduce yourselves so we know who you are. Kati, could you first possibly introduce yourself, please?
Yes, I am Katie Herbert, and I played 3 of Henry VIII's wives, Lady Jane Grey, Elizabeth I, and a teacher.
Exactly. Is that all? Okay.
Well remembered.
Marvellous. That's good. And Dan McGinty, can you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, I'm Dan McGinty, and I played Henry VII, Edward VI, Eric, Harold, and myself, Dan.
Fantastic. Crikey, that's fair enough. Okay. And Dario Knight, can you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, I am Dario Knight. I was the co-writer. Short and sweet.
Fair enough. Absolutely. Okay, just well, we're going to start off with a few questions so everyone can sort of dive down into the creative thing. First of all, to start off, Dario, could you tell us a little about how the project came about and how the writing process worked for the show?
Yes, so as you say in the introduction, this was one of our shows for Aylesbury Town Council, who we've worked with for quite a few years, and it came about, I think, Ruth, who's the senior events officer at the Town Council, she and I have a meeting every year and go over all their upcoming events and how Queen's Park can be involved, and we'd started talking about how Unbound could be involved as well as Queen's Park doing crafts, and I pitched a few different things that became shows like Treasure Island and Captain Christmas, and knowing that they had a Tudor Fair event every year, I pitched an idea of what about the entire history of the Tudors in 30 minutes as a sketch show. And as Ruth, as we've said before, in her brilliant way, if she likes an idea, she just goes, yep, I'll have it, it's booked, and away we went. So, yeah, it came out of that, really, and that partnership. The writing was, God, I try to remember now. It was Gareth and I wrote it, so we've done a few of these together, these sketch shows and short shows for the Town Council. And the way we worked was we started off, we went away and did research. I can't speak for Gareth, I don't know what he did in terms of research. I went away and got myself a book on the Tudors and read it cover to cover, and then just took copious notes and wrote down anything that was funny, first and foremost, because it was meant to be a comedy show, and anything that I hadn't heard of before, anything that piqued my interest, going, oh, I didn't know that, or any common misconceptions about the Tudors, and had about 3 or 4 pages of notes, which Gareth and I then sat down with in a meeting and picked out all our favourite facts or favourite stories linked to the Tudors. And we worked out that it's half an hour long, so you've probably got time to do 1 sketch per monarch and a little extra bit for Lady Jane Grey and the Battle of Bosworth. And so decided what we were going to do for each monarch, and each one was based on 1 story which we could then build a sketch around. Divvied them up, went away, wrote half of it each, emailed it across to one another, sent notes, rewrote bits and pieces, sent them back, and it kind of went back and forth for a while. And then whenever we write together, there's someone's always the editor, someone's in overall charge of the script, and I think that was me in this case with Tudor Tales. So I would then take all of the material and put it together, added any bit more linky bits that are needed between the sketches, and away we went. So yeah, it's fairly typical of how Gareth and I wrote. I don't think we've ever sat down with a blank bit of paper or a laptop and gone, okay, what happens? It's always written separately and sent across. So yeah, it's half and half.
Oh, you don't lock yourselves in the room then? That's
No, we haven't resorted to that yet. No, deadlines haven't been that bad.
No. Brilliant. Oh, fantastic. Thank you. So another question, Dan, as you're a new podcast guest, how did you get involved with Unbound? What was your first show? Just to put you on the spot. Yes.
I got involved. I was very, very drunk in
all of your stories begin.
Oh. Exactly. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah. I was in Stratford upon Avon, and I was really drunk. And I was like, oh yeah, I want to do acting stuff. Yeah. And I looked up on my phone and searched through and found Queen's Park, and they had a a course on. I think Erica did the course. It was about Shakespeare.
Yes, it was
And-
a 3-week drama thing, I think.
Yeah. So I went to that, and then after the second week, she said, "Well, you're obviously here because of the audition." And I was like, "Well, what's everyone?" And everyone's like, "Yeah, we're all here for the audition." I was like, "Well, what's going on with the audition?" And that's when I found out about Antony and Cleopatra. And
Fabulous.
so, went to the audition for that and did that,
Wow.
and it was great fun.
Fantastic.
And I stomped about all over the place, and it was great, shouting at everyone.
That was good.
What's not to
that
like?
was good. That was good. Yes, it's not many things you get a chance to do that. That's fantastic. Oh, brilliant. Oh, excellent. Good. Now, a question for everybody. How much did you know about the Tudors before you did the show? And what was your favourite historical fact that you learned from the script?
I think I knew a bit. I've only a fair bit about the Tudors. I'm useless with dates. To this day, I can't tell you any of the dates of the monarchs.
Yeah.
I think everyone knows a bit about them, which is why it's a good period of history to cover, because everyone's heard of Henry VIII and his 6 wives and Elizabeth and the Spanish Armada. So yeah, I had I would say a decent idea. I could tell you all the monarchs, and I could tell you a bit about each of them and all the wives in order and all their names.
Katie, can you do all the wives in order?
No. Can you?
Only 3 of them.
No, I know there were a bunch of Catherines. There were about 3 of them.
Yeah.
There was an Anne of Cleves. There was, what's her face?
What's her face? That's the one.
That's all
Anne
right.
Boleyn and the other one. Yeah.
2
What's
Annes,
the
2
other
Annes.
one?
Anne of
Sure.
Cleves.
Dr. Quinn, medicine woman.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jane
Who?
Seymour.
That's the
Quinn?
the next episode. Yes. Come from. God. Good God.
So yeah, a bit, I think. I mean, everyone knows a bit about them. Everyone knows. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Henry VIII's pretty much everyone knows him.
Yeah, doing the Tudors and Stuarts at school and that, isn't it?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
no one remembers the Stuarts, though, really. But everyone remembers it. We all did the Tudors and the Stuarts, but
Yeah.
no one remembers the Stuarts.
Exactly. That lot
And
that
there's
came
been
afterwards.
a lot. Yeah, there's been a lot on TV and films. There's always big films about Elizabeth or Henry VIII or bits. And I think Wolf Hall
Yeah,
was
that's
on
true.
just a bit before as well. Wasn't
Yeah.
It?
Yeah.
They're kind of
Well, there's
easy to
all
caricature
bits.
as well, aren't they? Henry VIII and Elizabeth I and
Yeah,
Bloody
they're
Mary.
quite
They're good
Big
cartoon
characters.
characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
are, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know about favourite facts.
I think I quite liked, which you just dropped in. There was just one line. You mentioned about Henry VII and the poisoned door frame, but
Yes.
no one ever went into
was-
any details.
Yeah.
You just
Yes.
dropped it in.
No,
That's
it
Was
was,
it.
yeah.
it was one of the things we couldn't fit. But yeah, we rather cheekily at the end of the production alluded to various other facts that we knew that we hadn't had time to put in the show. If possibly we got a recommission, then we'd do a show about those.
Yeah. Sort of blood come hint kind of thing.
Yeah, I'll tell you that this as I remember the story, what happened was it was an assassination attempt. So someone was trying, or a group of people were trying to kill Henry VII, I think because of taxation, because he loved taxes, and their idea was that they would create this foul-smelling, poisonous concoction, which they were going to spread on a door frame that they knew for somewhere he was going to visit, that they knew he would walk through. And their thinking, perfectly logical, was that he would walk through and it would infect him and kill him. And then what
right.
happened?
Oh.
What happened was,
Pre-COVID. Interesting.
yeah, see,
Yes.
someone was licking the door frame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what happened was they entrusted this bowl of gunk or whatever it was to the bloke who was based, I think, at the building, who was also involved, who had it, smelt it, thought it smelt disgusting, and just threw it away. And that was the end of the plot.
That's it. Oh, I'm not having that. I'm not having that.
Very
guys.
cunning,
Right.
very cunning.
Yeah. Oh,
So
Christ.
yeah, that was a good one.
Excellent.
Oh, fantastic.
I think my favourite's the Royal Whipping Boy, which is the Edward VI sketch.
Oh, yes.
Which
Yeah,
I didn't know
that's
before.
good.
Which is Edward VI, because he was a boy king. You're not allowed to hit royalty. So if he ever misbehaved, they got one of his school friends to basically take all the beatings,
Yeah.
which I'm sure he didn't exploit at all.
No.
No.
definitely.
So that was my favourite.
Oh, poor kid. That must have been. Yeah.
I like the. I didn't know the fire ships thing. The fact that the British lit some ships on fire and just drifted them off towards the Spanish.
Yes, and then the Spanish scattered.
That's
Yeah.
a good idea. Yeah, and the
just
Spanish
panic-
scattered. Yeah,
Panic
exactly.
them. Yeah.
There's another one we didn't actually write a sketch about properly. It's Clearly, we picked all the good facts to make sketches out.
Yes, exactly. You gotta have all the fun ones, haven't you? And that became a proper audience participation number, didn't it? That because that was being towards the end. That became a bit of a
it had its own chart.
Did yeah. Yes, that's where it sort of became panto at that point. Brilliant.
Yeah.
I like that bit.
Yeah. I got to shout. I love that.
That's not a bad thing. Yeah, exactly. That's a perfectly good reason to perform, I think. Absolutely.
There are some things that
Works for me.
when you're doing comedy, we've talked about this before, but you do find once you've rehearsed it enough times, you do stop finding it funny. There are certain things that I never stop finding funny, and Dan shouting fire ships is one of them.
True.
To this day, it still
Absolutely.
makes me laugh.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, fantastic. I'm a bit of a history fan. I've sort of read and researched this stuff for years because I'm just fairly dull, really. But I like the whole balance of all that. I think I was even in a musical about this years ago as well because it's an enduring subject. But actually, the way it was all put together, I thought was actually very balanced and a huge amount of fun. I mean, there's so much history and so many facts and figures and stuff that to put it together in a way that's engaging is quite hard. And I thought it really was well, but very speedily put together as well. Always amazed me how quickly it all went. When you think actually there was an awful lot. I found the script the other day. There's an awful lot there.
I mean, if you write something on Stuart's, Dario, you can go around schools and cut out a lot of time for a lot of children.
Could do.
This is the 10-minute version of it.
Yeah.
I like the one of my favourite bits was when they were going to try and burn down, but they actually succeeded in not burning down because he knew enough of the Lord's Prayer to be exonerated. That is actually based on in fact, actually, that took place in I believe Chesham.
Wow.
A trial by belief was held in Mary's reign, which would be sort of 1450s? Sorry, 1550s, wouldn't it? Because
I thought you meant like recently. I wouldn't put it past people.
Not recently, no, but literally that there were quite some notorious Bloody Mary. She did a lot of unpleasant things to people that didn't share the same beliefs of her, and there were actually sort of some tortures by belief in Chesham and surrounding areas. Quite an unpleasant way to go. I thought
so
that
if
was
you couldn't recite
together.
the Lord's Prayer, you were
Literally, yes. I think that it was that, and also parts of the Catholic Catechism as well. If you couldn't do it, then that's it. You're on fire, mate. Yeah.
Which we, as a mark of respect, turned into a game show. In the
Yes.
Exactly.
Indeed.
Why not? Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Hideous torture on the supposed fate of people's souls. Let's ask some funny questions about it. Absolutely. Gets them every time. Brilliant. Good. Yeah.
Only from the mind of Gareth Johnson.
Absolutely.
You get
Absolutely.
for every line you take away a log from the fire.
Exactly. Well, quite, as Gareth himself would say. Absolutely.
Quite.
Brilliant. Okay. So the next question is again for everybody. What are your memories of rehearsals for the show? And is it challenging not being able to rehearse in the venue you're going to be performing in? How do you find working on shows like this that have a specific, very short rehearsal period? I know very often things are sort of 2-3 months or something, but we didn't have that for this, did we? So, what's everyone's thoughts on that sort of?
I remember the rehearsals being fun because obviously it's a comedy and it's lots of very short scenes, which is fun. But I also remember two things really was that I sort of had scanned the script and there was a mention of some quick changes in there. But I don't think I fully realised that when they said quick changes, Dario decided to put us in full costume and wig.
Yes.
And then have a change of about 4 lines. And so playing 3 of the 6 wives and having changes throughout. Yeah. I remember that and thinking, I think the first time we did it, I think it felt like it took about an hour and a half just to get all the costumes on and off, which was horrific. And then, there was a bit with a book. The teacher that I played had to hit another person, Alice, with a book. And I remember being terrified, one, that I was actually going to hit her because I knew her mum was going to be in the audience and I thought she was going to like rip my hair out or something. And also because it was quite heavy. So part of me was thinking, God, don't throw this in the audience. If I give too much of a whack, I'm going to hit some child or something. And on the day, we were very lucky because we had a screen which we kind of changed behind, and so it felt easier going to another venue because you almost took the stage with you, if you like. You kind of, the outside space was the same, but you still had this same screen that we'd been rehearsing with. The only thing that was more complicated really was the fact that we were doing, I think we did 3 shows. So with these quick changes and things, where before I just flung a wig into a corner or something just to get rid of it, I thought, oh God, I need that in a minute. I don't know. So I think there were a couple of times Alice and I went out with different wigs on just because it was the nearest one to hand, I think.
I loved as well how...
It was good.
I loved how what you were saying about with the changes and that. I loved how, like, we created buffering for that and stuff, and like the way you'd shout like in a minute, or I can't remember what you were shouting and things like that. No, not yet. And so then there was a gag about it being really dragged out, and you would drag out slowly, then ready, and then just sped up and finished it.
Because we had to. The first time we did it, I was like, I've got like half a dress on, I've got the wig on my face. No, I can't do this. It's horrible.
But that was also, like created a joke in it as well, which was really well.
It became a bit of a feature, didn't it? I mean, I was just so lucky because I just stood by that little. I had one costume and I stood by that little podium thing, and I just waited for everyone.
You had it easy.
It was brilliant because I could see what was going on. I was sort of, and actually, I was thinking, do I say anything? But I didn't have to at all because you guys absolutely had it covered. That became another feature, actually. Sort of. In fact, if we do it again, we have to sort of, have to do a bit more of that, I think.
Oh,
being
God.
Being a panto fan, I have to. Exactly.
Find another monarch who had more than 6 wives.
Exactly.
Yes. No. Yeah. No more marriages for royalty. That's it.
Yeah. It was the hardest bit to come up with because that is the bit everybody knows about Henry VIII. He had 6 wives, so you can't not include that. That would have been daft. Yeah. But it's how you find a new way of doing it. So we'd done it so that there's so much to cover as well. You've only got half an hour to the whole dynasty, and there's so much information in just those 6 marriages. So we did them as it was 6 poems, I think 8-line poems.
Yeah.
And the gag being that someone's missed it. I think it's Rob dressed as Henry VIII has missed the whole routine.
Yes. Yeah, can we do it again?
But there's no time, so it's then a limerick.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I think Dan, you come on and say it's my favourite bit. Can't we do it again?
Yeah.
And then you have to do it again. And
we had to do it a third time.
A third time, which we literally reduced to just. I think it was you and Alice just had the 2 of the dresses held up in front of you and dropped one each time, doing the divorced, beheaded, died, divorced, beheaded, survived.
Yeah, because you gave us one line to do it in. It was just divorced, beheaded, died. I can't change that.
No. So I think the original idea was you were going to pop up behind the backdrop with different wigs on.
Yeah.
So you literally just kind of round wig on. But we couldn't, health and safety, we were on grass, it wouldn't have been very safe trying to pop over the back of the backdrop. So we came up with something else. But that was one of those classic moments where I think I wrote the idea down for Gareth and said, we'll do it like this. And Gareth looked at me and went, is that going to work? And I just went, it'll be fine. Don't worry about it.
I like that. The sort of considered, researched idea. Yeah, that'd be fine.
That'd be fine. Right. Sure.
They're actors. They'll just do it.
Yeah, exactly. I love that actually. From watching the audience, actually, that you could tell that people could tell that they were going to end up with divorced, beheaded, died, divorced, beheaded, survived.
Yes.
And I think they really got into that. They knew what was coming, and they were almost shouting it with you at the end. Actually, it was really good. Yeah. Yeah, fabulous. Also, a question here. Katie and Dan, between you played a large number of characters with, as we have already mentioned, lots of costume changes. How do you go about differentiating so many characters being performed in such a short space of time? And which was your favourite character to play? And which was your favourite costume to wear?
Do you want to go first, Dan, this one?
Okay.
I know the costume Dan loved most. I know that.
Yeah, we know the costume I love most. Yeah, yes. That revolting lollipop. Yeah.
Oh gosh, yes. Yeah.
Getting changed into that was a nightmare. Yeah, that was another quick change as well. Yeah. I don't know who my best character was. I really don't know, to be honest.
I remember you enjoyed swaggering around as Henry VII.
Yeah, I did like that. I like the chain.
You got to stomp around and shout again. There's a theme here.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, the long hair and that. It was very rock and roll. That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, I see.
That's what I took on for that part. Yeah, Mick Jagger.
It was.
As king.
Brilliant.
So I think it helped that because it was played for comedy, it was a bit easier to differentiate. So with the queens, obviously they're all queens really that I was playing, so they all had to be relatively posh. But I think with the wives, I tried the first one with a Spanish accent, which I apologise to any Spanish people that were watching if I've insulted you or your culture in any way. But the third one, because she was very young, I thought, well, I'll just take on a stereotypical teenager. So because we were playing for comedy, that helped, I think, with having the different kinds of characters. It was almost sort of a bit like panto, like a bit larger than life, which helped. You could sort of do these stereotypes and bring in different theories with the different characters. So yeah, one was a bit more like a customer service voice. Hello, how can I help you? Yeah. And then Elizabeth was just mental. So yeah, It was great. She was my favourite one to play. I only had about 3 lines, I think, but I just walked on fantastically confident, shouted at everyone, and that was it. It was brilliant.
Your queen has arrived.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was great.
Yes.
It was, and there was no quick change for that one either. I had about a scene to get changed in. It was lovely.
That worked well, actually. That was great, wasn't it? Yeah. Brilliant.
In terms of costumes, I think Gareth's little cameo at the end of Shakespeare turned up the best wig we've ever had. And by that, I mean the worst.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that wig.
Yes. Yeah.
That wig was terrifying because you asked me to brush it, didn't you, just to make it a bit neater. And I don't know whether it seemed to just anger it or something. Because it expanded. It turned into this ginormous mass.
Yeah. It was. We'd gone out and bought one that had the right kind of Shakespeare hairline. And I think it was an Einstein wig, technically. Oh. But it was fine when it came out of the packet. And then because it had been passed around and because it's not a particularly expensive wig, it then got a bit knotted and mangled. And then, trying to comb it only seemed to make it bigger. Yes. So he looked like he had a haystack on the top of his head by the end of it.
It was scary. It was terrifying.
And it's still getting bigger now.
Yes. I remember because I remember he came right up to me in our confrontation a bit, and it was funny, I have to admit. And he was acting all properly and being all steamingly cross with me, and I was just giggling like a complete twerp because it was just so. It was just so, and also because he had his glasses on as well, which didn't help. And it was funny, I have to say. It's good. Brilliant. So we have another question, and this is for everyone. What are your memories of the performances at Bucks Museum? Is it daunting performing in front of a crowd as part of a larger event rather than a dedicated crowd? And Dario, tell us about the shows for Aylesbury Town Council and Buckinghamshire Council. Tell us the shows that you've done for those as Unbound.
Oh, we've done,
if that makes sense,
quite a few of them now. The first one we did was Wind in the Willows, which we did at an event called Aylesbury on Sea. And then we've done Tudor Tales, obviously. We did one called Captain Christmas back in 2019. We've done Treasure Island. All those for Aylesbury Town Council. Lost in Time is a Town Council play. We did A Brief History of Britain, which was another historical sketch show for Bucks Council. I think that's all of them. And we've done a couple of online projects as well. We did Cyber Charades last year and a thing called History Detectives, which Dan and Kati are both in. So we've done quite a lot, really. Even with lockdown, we've kept busy, and it's really, it's amazing, really. It's kind of helped up our profile and the number of people we can reach. It's great for Unbound, but for Queen's Park as well, because you can go along and do a craft activity at an event for 100 people you might see during the day, or if you go up on stage, as we did when we did Treasure Island in Vale Park at the Aylesbury on Sea, with this huge, great big tract of sand they put in Vale Park. Erica can stand on stage with a microphone and shout to however, 1,000 people that were there and saying, "Come to Queen's Park Arts Centre." So it's a great publicity as well. Yeah. So we've done loads now, and hopefully more when COVID abates.
Yes, absolutely. Yes,
more are planned.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I remember people did respond very well, especially certainly in the museum. It was quite an intimate place, really, and people responded brilliantly to it. They really got the hang of it and really sort of, grabbing all their children and their grandads and making everyone sit down. It was a very engaging experience, I have to say.
I quite like that as well. It's quite cool because they can walk off if they want to walk off. It's very open and that, but people do come along and go, "Oh, what's that?" And then they sit down and watch the whole thing. I really like that aspect of that as well.
Yeah.
And kids and grown-ups love it. So the Happy World of Haribo.
I was going to say love it too. There, sorry.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yes. Sound like I'm advertising sweets. But yeah, it's
Other
it's
sweets
good,
are
yeah.
available.
It's nice when you can start off a show with a couple of dozen people, and then by the end of it you might have 50. I think the most we ever had was about 80 or 90 gathered round. It's really lovely to start with a modest crowd, and then it builds as you go.
Yes.
Because if it's the other way around, it's just depressing.
It's soul destroying.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. You've got three
Soon
shows
it's just the cleaner
very-
going past with a broom.
Exactly. And they start
Looking
turning
at a
the-
watch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Start
Guys,
turning the
move on.
lights off and think, oh, thank you very much. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's really fun. I mean, do you guys find it weird when you are performing and there are people just kind of milling around? Is that off-putting, or is that quite exciting?
Well, sometimes it's quite. There was a couple of little kids that started coming into the show, didn't they? Do you remember, Katie? You
yeah.
kind of talk to them a little bit,
yeah.
kind of engage with them a bit, and they'll go away and blah blah blah, going behind the stage as well and stuff like that. And that's all kind of fun, I think.
I think
It's all part of it.
that element of I think the audience feel like they can join in, because it is they can just wander through and suddenly these people are doing things. You walk out and you're thinking, well, that person over there is trying to talk to a blacksmith about something, so I can't yell too loud because he's trying to have a conversation about, I don't know, smelting or whatever the hell.
Yeah.
Oh, that did not stop me yelling too loud.
No, it never does. But it's nice because they feel like they can be involved, so you get quite a lot back from the audience, because they are, they're very much with you, I suppose. That you're quite close to them and you can see them and see all their reactions. And like Dan said, sometimes kids will just wander in and decide they want to join in or just see what you're doing.
Yeah.
How was it performing to Henry VIII? Because he was sat in the audience at one point.
That's true. Yes, he was, wasn't he?
Yeah,
Yes.
They have an official Henry VIII.
I got a
man.
nod as the wife. It was fine. I did. He
You
didn't.
did, yeah. I forgot
I
that.
did get a.
But which
That's
one?
fine. Well, I think Alice and I both flirted with him a little bit as we were playing the wives. I don't think she liked it very much, but we did try and play up to him a little bit. But he killed us all, really. So, well, a couple of them.
So it was. He's the official Henry VIII who's booked every year to walk around the event and chat to people, and he is in the full-on Henry VIII regalia in a costume that probably weighs the same that he does.
He looks fantastic, doesn't he?
He's amazing.
He does,
He looks brilliant.
He does look the proper part, yeah.
Yeah, compared to Rob, who was in him.
Oh,
We need to feed him up a bit.
He did, yeah.
yeah.
Rob liked it, I think, because he was. It's not always nice being continually cast as Henry VIII, because it
No, I can't.
sometimes
say that's very
doesn't do good
for
things
ego,
for your ego.
Yeah.
But then he stood next to the proper Henry VIII, who is the size of a small house once he's in that costume. So Rob rather enjoyed it, I think. But it was quite daunting. Him sort of sat there watching it, judging it. But I was stood behind him. I was watching him watching it, and he was occasionally nodding around. Every time he got to a fact, he'd nod. So I thought,
that's good.
excellent.
Yes.
we're in there.
Yes.
It would have been awkward if he just sort of stood up and gone, no, incorrect.
Exactly.
Yes.
Wrong
This
date,
is terrible,
wrong
I'm
date.
leaving.
Exactly.
Yeah, because we're not kind about Henry VIII in the show. We are quite
No.
rude.
He's rather unsympathetic, isn't he?
I like the way that Rob would he'd throw water on me as it being petrol.
Yeah.
Oh,
From
for
the
the
can.
bonfire bit, yeah.
Yeah, and like we did it 3 times, and every time he just started getting a bit more and more water being thrown on me.
Yeah.
By the last one, he had
Oh,
no
yeah.
inhibitions whatsoever. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it's
cover
the
it.
last one.
Use it
Doesn't
up.
matter. Yeah.
Exactly.
If you're going to get wet, you may as well get wet. Absolutely.
Bearing in mind, I seem to remember you could barely see at the time. Because didn't you have an eye infection or something?
I did, yeah, and I'm still getting those pies in my face.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think the production photos, you do look a little bit bleary eyed.
That shaving foam to the eyes definitely doesn't help.
No.
No,
I've tried it. I was the test dummy on it. It doesn't work.
It's not a good treatment for swollen eyes. Don't rub shaving
No,
foam in
no.
them.
No.
Yeah.
Do not apply shaving cream. It doesn't help. Brilliant.
My other memory is the sheer amount of stuff we had. I mean, we've done
Yes, there was.
we've
an
done
awful lot of
entire
gear,
Shakespeare
wasn't there?
plays, we've done Antony and Cleopatra, we've done pantomimes, we've done theatrical tours. I've never had so many costumes. There were about 30 of them for a half
And there's
hour
only
show.
5 of us.
It was-
Yeah, for 5 of
We
us.
worked out as one costume per minute of theatre.
Brilliant.
So it was loads of
Look,
stuff.
it keeps everyone guessing, though, doesn't it? Keeps everyone
Yeah.
going.
And it did, as you said, with the Henry VIII, but it did become part of the gag of the show was the fact that you're aware it's 5 actors putting on a production, which I kind of like doing because it makes it even more conspiratorial, really. Everyone knows that you're putting on a show for them.
Yeah.
And so when you do break the fourth wall a bit without shattering it, but the fact that everyone came out in more and more ludicrous wigs and costumes and looking slightly more dishevelled as the show went on.
You're well aware that it's a very, very fast costume change indeed.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, so I've got one more question really, which is for Katie and Dan. This show was based on the Tudor era, but what historical person would you most like to play? And Dario, any that you would like to write about that you haven't already written about?
Well, who's a complete bastard? That's what I'd like to play. Genghis Khan, Richard III. Richard III.
Yeah.
Genghis Khan. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think. Yeah, something like that. Someone who's horrible, running around the place, shouting at everyone.
I was
like
shouting.
Shouting. Yeah. That's what we like. Shouting at everyone, stomping about.
Sort of finding historical characters that most represent your basic needs, Dan, really, isn't it?
Clearly. I'm clearly very repressed in real life, but this is how I can let it out.
You need to let go a bit here, don't you? Yes, absolutely.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, some people go to the gym and do exercise and stuff. No. Just want to shout at people.
Yeah. Dan gets himself a costume and a script.
Just goes around. Exactly,
It's a shrinking violet normally. This is, just how it is.
Very meek and mild, yeah.
Of course, very meek, very meek.
Barely noticing the rehearsals.
Okay.
Brilliant.
What about you, Katie?
I don't know. I don't want to say really because it feels like a shameless plug. But I will qualify this by saying I did classics at school and I also did archaeology at university and I really, really loved the ancient Greeks. And they're all crazy. Their stories are mental. But I also know that there is I know that Gareth and Dario have mentioned it. So I'm not plugging that. I'm just saying that I really like it. And I've liked it for many years.
Not pitching for work or anything, but...
Yes, no. You know that idea we were talking about? Yes, yeah.
Yes,
but Elizabeth was a dream to play. Elizabeth I is just fantastic. She's just out there, completely confident, completely above everybody else, and not afraid to put people in their place. She was fantastic.
She's a fascinating person, isn't she, Elizabeth? She really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And well, hopefully we'll be able to do the new edition that we did in the 24-hour show.
Yeah, we expanded it. So
that was that was a big
extra sketches.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
Yes, I enjoyed that.
Really good.
Yeah.
Well, there are plans are afoot. We haven't announced anything yet, but there is a plan for Tudor Tales to return with the new material which we wrote for the 24-hour show, which is some of the extra things. Still not the Poison Door frame. Still didn't do it. Didn't do it.
But you've kept the quick changes in though, haven't you?
Yes.
Oh yes, yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, we've taken a line out of each poem, so it's even a little bit shorter.
Fair enough.
I'm going to start wearing them just on top of each other. I'm just going to put them all three on together. And then just take
it's
one
an
off at a
astonishing
time.
weight loss, and it's sort of
much easier.
To start the show, everyone is quite bulky. Because they're wearing all their costumes, and by the end of it, everyone's just very slim, their normal selves.
Yeah, peel off like a caterpillar coming out.
Yeah, brilliant.
About writing. I don't know. The thing I have realised, I've written a lot of history stuff between this and Chronomier things and brief history. Because my initial thought was Charles I, but we've did him in a sketch. I don't know. Maybe the Georgians. You had 4 King Georges in a row. That's probably material there. Or
that's pretty much all the 18th century, isn't it? Really, all Georges.
Yes, between the 4 of them. Or there's a period of history from the 12th century, I think, which is called the Anarchy, which was all about when Henry the First died, and it was about the line of succession. His daughter Matilda, who was the Empress Matilda.
Oh yes, with American King Stephen, wasn't he?
Yes, had a sort of 20-year civil war because she felt she should be the next queen, and her cousin King Stephen disagreed. So they just had an argument for 20 years. It was
there was just a
sort of game of cat and mouse that went on, where they were sort of capturing one another and locking them in jail, and then escaping again and going. And then eventually the whole thing ended with her son becoming king. But so there's probably something fun to be done there as well.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Right, well, lovely people. That, I guess, unless anyone's got a sudden memory they wish to suddenly burst forth with, this brings us to the end of this episode. So thank you all for your visiting this marvellous project with me, and thank you to everyone listening. For more episodes of Tell Great Stories and lots of other great audio-video content, head over to unboundtheatre.co.uk or look up at Unbound Theatre on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram or SoundCloud.
I think we should end the episode with Dan shouting fire.
I really wanted him to.
Yep, that's it. Yep.
I was waiting.
Lean slightly away from the
back.
microphone.
Yeah.
And away we go.
Fire ships!
There it is.
Hey.
There it is. Hooray. Brilliant.
Oh, that's depressing. I'm the only one that clapped, and I clapped myself. Sounds about right. I find me highly enjoyable.